We often treat human history as an intellectual demolition derby. We assume that to move forward, every new era must shatter the previous one, that science only thrives by destroying the myths and philosophies that came before it. But look at the records from the last few thousand years. Despite our changing technology, we are still obsessed with the same questions. What is consciousness? How do we relate to nature? And what is the universe? The answers evolve, but the core inquiries have remained remarkably stable. This continuity suggests that ancient myths, classical philosophy, and modern science might not be competing for the title of the one true fact. They function as successive cognitive languages. A symbolic myth, a metaphysical theory, and a mathematical model are all different ways of translating the same underlying reality. Viewing history as a simple timeline of wrong moving toward right masks the deeper truth of our intellectual heritage. We're part of a single, continuous effort to interpret the world. Intellectual traditions follow a process similar to biological evolution. Ideas survive when they effectively explain experience and solve practical problems. The concepts that repeatedly succeed become the stable foundations of a culture. The evolution of Persian and Islamic philosophy provides a perfect case study for this kind of conceptual survival. Thinkers like Mullā Ṣadrā and Suhrawardī worked within the Khosravānī Wisdom, a tradition that sought to unify intellectual reasoning with direct spiritual illumination. They didn't see logic and intuition as opposites, but as two necessary halves of a single system. Suhrawardī's hierarchy of light visualized reality as a continuous gradient, from a central light down to the material world. Navigating it required the philosopher king to integrate logical analysis with visionary experience, understanding the laws through study and direct insight. To a modern ear, this sounds like pure mysticism. Our current scientific vocabulary is so different that we struggle to see the structural logic hidden behind the 12th century symbolism. Consider our current mathematical language for the mind, the Brain Kinematics Model, or BKM. BKM defines cognition as continuously evolving regulatory dynamics, mapping how information moves through nested levels of complexity. Here, intuition emerges from large-scale integration of neural networks, a high-order state processing massive data simultaneously. A striking conceptual resonance appears when we place these two systems side by side. Suhrawardī's archangelic lights functioned as the most stable organizing principles of his reality, much like the high-level regulatory structures described in modern brain kinematics. The ancient descent of light through a hierarchy mirrors the biological concept of a recurring cycle of differentiation and reintegration. Both describe a single, dynamic system that organizes itself into increasingly complex layers. We are looking at a shared philosophical architecture. Whether translated through 12th century illumination or 21st century system science, the underlying description of a graded, dynamic reality remains consistent. Modern science acts as a tool for the progressive clarification of our older intellectual heritage. Intuition and empirical science represent successive stages of the same cognitive process. Discovery frequently begins as an intuitive insight, before it is sharpened through logical analysis and physical verification. This doesn't mean ancient philosophers were doing neurobiology in disguise. It means that both frameworks, one metaphysical and one scientific, point toward a reality that is fundamentally unified and dynamic. We can view ancient myths and philosophies as the functional rough drafts of our current models. They were the earliest successful attempts to translate the complexity of existence into a human language. Eventually, our own cutting-edge neuroscience will be viewed as a historical language. We are simply the latest generation in an endless quest to decode a single, unchanging reality.